The devotee of Bismillah, how love for Allah's name transformed a life. In the name of Allah begins every blessing. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. All praise belongs to Allah, the Lord of all worlds. Peace and countless blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad, his family, his companions, and all those who follow his guidance until the last day. Dear brothers and sisters, every believer hopes to live a life filled with peace, blessings, and the pleasure of Allah. Throughout Islamic history, there have been remarkable people whose lives became examples of faith because of their deep love for Allah and His remembrance. Their hearts were attached to their Creator, their tongues were constantly engaged in His remembrance, and every action they performed began with His blessed name. Today, we reflect on a touching story about a person whose heart became deeply attached to the words Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. After embracing Islam, these blessed words became the foundation of his daily life. He would never begin any good deed without first mentioning the name of Allah. Whether he was eating, traveling, working, learning, or helping others, his first words were always Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. To many people, this may have seemed like a simple habit. Yet in reality, it reflected a heart overflowing with faith, humility, complete trust in Allah. Every time he pronounced these words, he reminded himself that all success comes only from Allah, all blessings belong to Him, and every moment of life depends entirely upon His mercy. This is one of the greatest lessons that Islam teaches us. A believer does not rely solely upon personal strength, wealth, intelligence, or worldly resources. Instead, he places his trust in the Creator of the heavens and the earth. Saying Bismillah is not merely a phrase spoken by the tongue. It is a declaration of faith, dependence, gratitude, and hope. Whenever we begin our actions with the name of Allah, we acknowledge that without His permission, nothing can truly succeed. This beautiful habit transforms ordinary daily activities into acts filled with spiritual meaning. Eating becomes an act of gratitude. Studying becomes an act of worship. Working becomes a means of seeking lawful sustenance with Allah's blessings. Even the smallest action gains value when it begins with sincere remembrance of Allah. Many righteous scholars throughout history advised Muslims never to underestimate the power of remembering Allah before beginning any good deed. They taught that the real blessing is not found in the words alone, but in the sincere heart that speaks them with complete faith and reliance upon Allah. Unfortunately, modern life often keeps people so busy that they rush from one task to another without remembering their Creator. They wake up in the morning and immediately think about work. They begin their meals without gratitude. They start important projects relying only on planning. And experience. Yet Islam gently reminds us that true success comes when worldly effort is combined with trust in Allah. The story before us is therefore much more than the story of one individual. It is an invitation for every Muslim to rebuild a strong relationship with Allah by beginning every lawful action with His blessed name. Perhaps this small habit will become the reason for enormous blessings, unseen protection, inner peace, and acceptance in the sight of Allah. The power hidden within the words, Bismillah. Dear viewers, have you ever paused to reflect on the meaning of the words Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim before saying them? For many people, they are simply the opening words spoken before eating or beginning a task. However, for a believer whose heart is alive with faith, these words carry a much deeper meaning. When a Muslim says, "In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate," he is declaring that every blessing comes from Allah alone. He admits that his own strength is limited, his knowledge is incomplete, and his plans can never succeed without the permission of his Lord. This understanding fills the heart with humility. It removes arrogance and replaces it with complete trust in Allah. It reminds the believer that no matter how difficult life becomes, Allah remains the best protector, the best provider, and the best planner. The man whose story we are reflecting upon understood this reality. After embracing Islam, he filled his life with the remembrance of Allah. Every action began with Bismillah, not because it was merely a tradition, but because his heart had fallen in love with the remembrance of his Creator. His attachment to these blessed words changed the way he looked at life. Success no longer made him arrogant, and hardship no longer made him lose hope. He knew that every situation was under the perfect wisdom of Allah. Every great journey begins with the name of Allah. Throughout history, every prophet called people toward Allah. They taught their nations to rely upon their Creator before relying upon themselves. Beginning every lawful action with Bismillah is one of the simplest yet most meaningful habits the Muslim can develop. Imagine waking up in the morning and beginning your day with a remembrance of Allah. Imagine leaving your home while placing your trust completely in Him. Imagine starting your work, your studies, your business, and your family responsibilities by first remembering the one who controls every outcome. Such a life becomes different. The believer feels less anxious because he knows Allah is with him. He becomes more grateful because every blessing reminds him of his Lord. He becomes more patient because every difficulty is viewed as a test filled with wisdom. This is one of the greatest spiritual transformations that Islam brings into the life of a believer. The blessings of living with constant remembrance. A heart connected to Allah never remains empty. Whenever sadness enters, remembrance brings comfort. Whenever fear appears, trust in Allah brings courage. Whenever confusion surrounds a believer, turning toward Allah brings clarity. The remembrance of Allah is not limited to the mosque or moments of worship. Rather, it accompanies the believer throughout the day, at home, at work, while traveling, while studying, while helping others. Every moment becomes an opportunity to strengthen one's relationship with Allah. This is why the righteous people of the past considered the remembrance of Allah to be one of the greatest treasures a believer could possess. Their happiness did not depend upon wealth. Their peace did not depend upon status. Their confidence did not depend upon worldly success. Instead, it came from knowing that Allah was always near to those who remembered Him sincerely. Trust in Allah changes the way we face every trial. Dear brothers and sisters, life is a journey filled with unexpected moments. Sometimes we experience happiness, while at other times we face pain, loss, uncertainty, or disappointment. No one is free from trials. Wealth cannot prevent them, power cannot remove them, and intelligence alone cannot solve every difficulty. What truly gives a believer strength is not the absence of problems, but the presence of unwavering trust in Allah. The man whose story we are reflecting upon understood this beautiful reality. His heart had become deeply attached to the remembrance of Allah through the words, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Whenever he began a task, he reminded himself that success belongs only to Allah. Whenever he encountered hardship, he remembered that relief also comes only from Allah. This simple habit transformed his entire outlook on life. Instead of living with constant fear, he lived with hope. Instead of allowing anxiety to control him, he placed his confidence in his Creator. Instead of becoming proud during times of ease, he remained grateful. And instead of becoming hopeless during times of difficulty, he remained patient. This is the beauty of true faith. A believer does not measure life only by what happens around him. He measures life by the strength of his relationship with Allah. The greatest treasure is a heart that remembers Allah. Many people spend their lives searching for happiness in wealth, success, popularity, or possessions. Yet history teaches us that countless wealthy people remained unhappy, while many righteous believers lived simple lives filled with peace. Why? Because real peace does not come from what we own. It comes from the one who owns everything. Allah reminds us throughout the Quran that hearts find peace through His remembrance. When the heart remembers Allah sincerely, worries become lighter. Difficulties become easier to bear. Hope replaces despair. Patience replaces frustration. The believer begins to understand that every hardship carries wisdom, every delay has a purpose, and every blessing deserves gratitude. The remembrance of Allah changes not only our words but also our way of thinking. It teaches us to see every situation through the lens of faith rather than fear. Small habits can lead to great blessings. One of the most beautiful lessons we learn from this story is that great spiritual achievements often begin with small, consistent actions. Many people wait for extraordinary opportunities to become closer to Allah. However, Islam teaches us that sincere daily habits gradually transform the heart. Saying Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim before beginning a lawful action may appear to be something very small. Yet when it is spoken with sincerity, reflection, and complete reliance upon Allah, It becomes a powerful reminder of who truly controls every outcome. Every meal begins with gratitude. Every journey begins with trust. Every act of learning begins with humility. Every moment of work becomes an opportunity to seek Allah's blessings. Little by little, the believer's entire life becomes connected to the remembrance of Allah. And this connection becomes the greatest source of strength during every stage of life. The true meaning of success. Modern society often defines success by wealth, fame, influence, or personal achievement. Islam teaches a much deeper definition. True success is to earn the pleasure of Allah. True success is to meet Allah with a heart filled with faith. True success is to live a life in which every action reflects sincerity, gratitude, patience, and trust in the Creator. The man whose heart loved the words Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim reminds every believer that true greatness is not measured by what people think of us. It is measured by how sincerely we remember Allah and how faithfully we strive to obey Him. Perhaps one sincere act of remembrance may become the reason for immense mercy from Allah on the day when every soul will stand before Him. Building a life that begins with the name of Allah. Dear brothers and sisters, imagine how different our lives would become if every day began with a remembrance of Allah and every important decision was made while seeking His guidance. Too often, people begin their day by checking messages, worrying about work, thinking about financial responsibilities, or planning their schedules. While these responsibilities are part of life, Islam gently teaches us not to let them replace our relationship with our Creator. The simple habit of saying Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim before every lawful action keeps the believer connected to Allah throughout the day. It reminds us that every opportunity is a blessing, every ability is a gift, and every success comes only by His permission. A believer who lives with this awareness develops a heart that is grateful during times of ease and patient during times of hardship. Such a person understands that every blessing deserves gratitude and every trial deserves steadfastness. This balance is one of the greatest gifts of faith, teaching the next generation the love of Allah's name. One of the greatest responsibilities placed upon Muslim parents is to raise children who love Allah sincerely. Children naturally learn by observing those around them. If they see their parents beginning every meal with Bismillah, they will learn to do the same. If they hear Allah's name mentioned with love, respect, and gratitude, their hearts will gradually develop the same attachment. If they witness their parents turning toward Allah during moments of happiness as well as moments of difficulty, they will understand that faith is not reserved only for times of crisis, but is the foundation of everyday life. Teaching a child to say Bismillah is much more than teaching a phrase. It is teaching reliance upon Allah. It is teaching gratitude. It is teaching humility. It is teaching that every blessing comes from the Creator, and every difficulty can be faced with trust in Him. These lessons remain with a person throughout life and often become a source of strength during adulthood. A heart connected to Allah never loses hope. Every believer experiences moments when life becomes difficult. There are times when prayers seem unanswered. There are times when plans change unexpectedly. There are times when the future appears uncertain. Yet the believer whose heart remains attached to Allah never allows despair to overcome faith. Remembering Allah does not remove every trial immediately. However, it changes the way we carry those trials. It replaces fear with hope. It replaces panic with patience. It replaces confusion with trust. The person in this story continued to honor the blessed words Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim because he understood that the greatest blessing was not simply worldly success. The greatest blessing was remaining close to Allah under every circumstance. When a servant preserves that relationship, Allah grants strength, wisdom, and inner peace that cannot be measured by worldly standards. The everlasting lesson. The story we have reflected upon is not simply about one individual. It is a reminder for every Muslim living in every generation. No matter where we live, no matter what language we speak, no matter how difficult our circumstances become, we can always begin again by turning sincerely toward Allah. Every morning offers a new opportunity. Every prayer offers a new beginning. Every sincere Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim reminds us that our Lord is the most merciful and the most compassionate. May we never underestimate the value of small acts performed with sincere faith. For sometimes the smallest deed, performed purely for the sake of Allah, becomes the greatest source of blessings in this life and the next a call to transform our lives. Dear brothers and sisters, as we reach the end of this inspiring reflection, let us pause for a moment and ask ourselves a simple but powerful question. How often do we truly remember Allah before beginning the blessings He has given us? Every new morning is a gift from Allah. Every breath we take is a mercy from Him. Every opportunity to earn, learn, worship, help others, and spend time with our families is a blessing that deserves gratitude. Yet in the rush of everyday life, we sometimes forget the one who made all of these blessings possible. The story we have reflected upon reminds us that a sincere heart attached to Allah can completely transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. The believer who constantly remembered Allah through the words Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim was not seeking praise from people. His greatest desire was simply to honor the name of his Lord. That is the secret of true sincerity. When our actions begin with Allah, our hearts remain connected to Allah. When our hearts remain connected to Allah, our character begins to change. Our words become kinder. Our intentions become pure. Our patience becomes stronger. Our gratitude becomes deeper. Our trust becomes unshakable. And slowly, our entire life becomes an act of worship, a practical commitment for every believer. Beginning today, let us make a sincere commitment. Before every lawful action, pause for a moment. Remember your Creator. Say Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim with understanding, humility, and complete trust. Before eating, say Bismillah. Before beginning your work, say Bismillah. Before studying, say Bismillah. Before traveling, say Bismillah. Before making an important decision, turn your heart toward Allah and begin with His blessed name. These small moments of remembrance may seem simple, but they build a heart that remains constantly connected to its Lord. And a heart connected to Allah is never truly alone. The greatest success. People spend their entire lives searching for success. Some search for wealth. Others search for fame. Some search for influence. Others search for recognition. But the greatest success is not measured by what people think about us. It is measured by what Allah knows about us. True success is to meet Allah with a heart filled with faith. True success is to leave this world while loving the remembrance of Allah. True success is to spend every day trying to earn His pleasure through sincere worship, good character, and obedience. If this story inspires us to remember Allah more often, if it encourages us to begin every good deed with Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, if it strengthens our trust in Allah during times of ease and hardship, then its message has already achieved something beautiful. Final supplication. O Allah, we praise You and thank You for every blessing You have bestowed upon us. Fill our hearts with sincere love for Your remembrance. Allow our tongues to remain engaged in mentioning Your blessed name throughout our lives. Grant us the ability to begin every righteous action with Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim and make our intentions sincere for Your sake alone. Strengthen our faith during times of ease and during times of hardship. Protect us from arrogance, heedlessness, and despair. Guide our children and future generations to love You, remember You, and place their complete trust in You. Forgive our sins, overlook our shortcomings, accept our good deeds, and shower us with Your endless mercy. Grant us beneficial knowledge, lawful sustenance, righteous families, peaceful hearts, and a beautiful ending to our lives. When we stand before You on the day of judgment, grant us Your forgiveness, admit us into Your mercy, and reunite us with Your righteous servants and with our beloved Prophet Muhammad in the highest ranks of paradise. Indeed, You are the most merciful, the most compassionate, and over all things You are perfectly able. Ameen, O Lord of all the worlds.